Well, so he plays a bunch of just Disruption. And one of the cards that kind of gets around that is Floatstone. It allows you to change your attackers up, and especially against Golisopod, it really turns on that first impression again and again with Guzmas and all that stuff. But without the use of Floatstone and even like Choice Band, it just takes away that extra 30 damage, and it could be huge in this game.
Yeah, and so we're going to see, we saw a move from Boston that we're going to see a lot during this match, which is just a pass. He's not attacking, he's very reactive. There's nothing on Ian's side of the board, so he can't really do anything. There's nothing to hammer away, anything like that. He had to play the N as a supporter for the turn. So we're going to be seeing a lot of that, a slow, controlling game. But what might throw a wrench into that plan is Oranguru.
Oh, yeah. Resource management, Oranguru, definitely one of the best cards against this kind of strategy. And getting it out right away with Bridget, not even playing any other cards. Bridget for that one Oranguru, and it's probably the best manager you can have on your team right now.
No, this is extremely... So we saw a similar situation come up with Tord Rekliv playing against Chris Hogue yesterday. Chris is playing the Sylveon GX deck, not exactly like this, but still a very slow controlling deck. And Tord was able to just go full in on Oranguru, resource management, kind of cutting him off of his ways of winning. And I think we're going to see the same thing. You know, Ian just kind of putting up that Oranguru. He knows exactly what to do in the matchup. He clearly knows what he's doing, and it's going to be really difficult for Boston to pull it off here.
Now, Oranguru is definitely better against a lot of like the Hoopa decks where they actually focus on attacking. Meanwhile, Boston's deck is all about that deck out plan. So with multiple Lusamine, we could just see a game of, well, I'll resource management. Well, I'll Lusamine to get a supporter and Lusamine, and then we just keep going. And we could also see a Team Rocket's handiwork to discard some cards later on in the game and just completely wreck resource management.
I imagine that's what it'll come down to, is just sort of a war of attrition and then maybe some lucky handiwork flips.
Yeah, 100%. Handiwork is definitely one of the highlight cards against Oranguru.
Both players shuffling.
All I know is we're going to be in for a long game.
Yeah, this is going to definitely be a grind. Again, very attrition-based, just not a whole lot of action and big knockouts, more just playing a very technical game.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty good that Ian has that Zora on the bench, because he could play down that Zoroark and start going through his deck to make the resource management better. But it's also a double-edged sword, because you also help out Boston in his plan.
Yeah, exactly. It's really interesting. We saw Tord, again, navigate Oranguru very, very well yesterday, where you kind of have to keep exactly account of how many cards in your deck, how many you're putting back, what you're putting back, all of that.
Yeah, and we see a Team Skull Grunt from Boston not discarding any energy from the hand. It's a card that is pretty good if you hit it, but when you just don't, it's a waste of a turn.
Yeah, it's a supporter that can have, you know, the worst case is it does nothing.
Yeah.
Which is never where you want to be. Again, it matters less in Boston's deck, where it's not like you need to draw a bunch of energy to attack and, you know, draw your evolutions or anything. But it's still never great to just play a supporter for zero effect.
And we see Ian actually evolve into that Zoroark GX and bench another Zorua. He's going to start to have a game plan, because he still will need to try to take some knockouts. He's not going to win by decking out the guy that has double Lusamine.
Yeah, so he definitely needs to put some actual, you know, damage, just classic fair Pokemon pressure on. But it's really hard to do that when you know what Boston's up to. You know, you really got to pick your spots. We see the first resource management for double colorless, and didn't quite see the last card.
I believe it was Field Blower. He's really just putting cards back.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. There's still an optimal choice, but you just want the raw cards.
Yeah. Nest Ball coming down from Boston here. Does have a few options. This is really his first deck search as well. So now he's realizing, Xurkitry's prized.
Yeah, no Xurkitry, going to make the game a bit more difficult. Double checking here. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and take another Hoopa.
Yeah, Hoopa definitely one of the surprise breakout cards of this tournament so far. A lot of people trying to rely on it to just combat this metagame. And so far, it seems to be working.
Yeah, it worked in day one at least. I haven't really kept up with the records of the serious Hoopa players besides, of course, Boston today. So we'll see how that shakes out going into the top 8. But it was definitely a wise choice to get you this far.
And we're most likely just going to see a pass here unless he has a way to get rid of that double colorless in his hand.
Can't.
Oh, yeah, he has plenty of options. There's a Team Flare Grunt. There's also a Plumeria, which I think is one of the most underutilized cards since it's been out. Being the ability to just discard an energy from anywhere is insane.
Yeah, especially when the cost is not that great when you're Boston. Like, a lot of your cards are kind of redundant. A lot of your cards don't matter in certain matchups.
All right, and there we see the grass energy come down on the Rangaroo, definitely helping out. It's a little harder to get rid of for Boston. And then, again, just resource management, put those 3 cards on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, but this is the kind of what I really like about when you get to these bigger tournaments, especially in the later rounds in the day 2, when it was clear that Ian knew exactly what to do. He probably knew what Boston was playing because the field's so small. He immediately got that Rangaroo, and he just has a plan versus all the matchups. That's what you see with these great players.
Oh no, this is unfortunate. It doesn't really matter too much in the scheme of things, but the Circuitry and the Lightning Energy are prized,
right.
And since Gladion goes back into the prizes, you can't Lucamine it back to get another card later on. So if he chooses that Circuitry, he will not be able to Lightning GX. Thing that only really matters in Top Cut, where winning on prizes is actually better.
Yeah, he just takes the Circuitry, just still the ability's active. That still matters.
The one time you shuffle your prizes.
Yeah, right. Gladion going right back in the prizes, cutting the prizes.
And we can actually go to the cam and see how they laid out again. That's pretty cool. Oh, it looks like he prized the Gladion. Oh! All right, and there's a pass. Again, this isn't going to be a pretty exciting game to watch, but it's definitely going to come down to the wire.
I mean, it's exciting in its own right. It's just unlike a lot of the other matches that you'll see at this tournament. Just kind of, both players are kind of competing on a different axis, I would say.
Yeah, and
it's not traditional Pokemon.
This Ultra Ball is essentially free from Ian here. Discarding 2 cards, search for nothing. All right, I'll put them back in my deck.
Yep, just resource management is what we're going to see. So, okay, earlier you said that Ian wasn't going to be able to win the deck out battle versus the guy with Lucamine. So when does Ian start attacking? Like, when does he start trying to do damage? Is there a moment where you go for it, or it's just based on your hand?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. He's going to be taxed on his resources, so he will have to resource management every turn. And if Boston keeps getting a way to discard the energy off a Rangaroo, then this game might just end in a tie, honestly.
We just navigate into a position where there's kind of no outs for either player, no energy left for Ian. Again, he only plays the 3 basics, and the double colorless are very easy to get rid of.
Yeah, this kind of situation reminds me of a very old match that happened in the Last Chance qualifier of Worlds quite a long time ago, where 2 decks that just could not take a prize lasted like 5 hours.
That was even before my time. Thankfully, these
Josue will know.
Yeah, Josue definitely knows. Thankfully, these rounds are timed, so we're not going to see something like that, but we are definitely going to see a long, drawn-out game.
Yeah, and there we see the second Lucamine is in the deck. That's one thing that would have been a snap take with that Gladion if it was in the prizes.
You see Wishy-Washy GX on the left side of your screen. That is Boston's active Pokemon. The text doesn't actually matter. It's just there to have high HP. It's just there to take damage. Very similar to kind of the Wailord strategy from, I guess, expanded now and years past. So just he doesn't even have a way to attack with it. Just a big body.
Yeah, Wailord actually coming in second at the last big expanded tournament. So this strategy is definitely viable. And Lucamine also doesn't only just get supporters, it actually gets stadiums too. So he could be eyeing that Lysander's Lab to just kind of keep it in play, and eventually it'll just stick.
Yeah, eventually he'll just run Ian out of resources, which looks like what he's going to do.
All right, there's the pass.
Go ahead and take a look at the discard pile. Like, it's weird because looking at, like, checking that, even though there's not much action going on in the game, the specific cards that Boston has played are pretty important. It gets less important when you consider just Lucamine after Lucamine. But, still got to do your due diligence, check it out, make sure you're, playing to your right outs. But it looks like he's just going to pass back. Yeah, nothing going on. No cards in the discard pile to resource management.
Wow, okay, so this is probably the best possible scenario for Boston here. He's gotten both Lucamines pretty early on in the game, and he just drew Team Rocket's Handiwork here. And so that, in combination with the Team Skullgrunt that's in his discard, he might be able to hit a turn where Ian can't resource management back some energy. And then that's when things start rolling.
And another pass from Ian. Looks like that lab may be coming down.
Yeah, he actually doesn't want to play the Team Skullgrunt or the Team... I forgot the other one now.
Team Skullgrunt?
Team Rocket's Handiwork. There we go. There's so many teams in this deck. It's insane. He's basically playing every generation of evil villains. It's great. But you don't want to discard top cards of his deck because he'll just put them right back into his deck.
Right, it just does nothing. We do see a Team Flare Grunt knocking off that energy, and I don't think Ian has another one in his hand, so now he's kind of forced to do something.
Yeah, Mallow, the rare Mallow for 2 grass maybe.
Mallow going to go ahead and search for any 2 cards, put them on top of Ian's deck, and then of course he can discard a card from his hand to draw them with Zoroark GX's trade ability. If you've been tuning into the stream, or you've paid attention to Pokemon at all since Zoroark GX has been released, you certainly have seen a lot of trades.
It's the reason they call it the Pokemon trading card game.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't called that before that.
So Mallow putting a Grass Energy and a Latios on top of the deck. Just one trade away from getting that grass, and then just, again, resource management.
Looks like Ian is lives in Indiana. Going to test with Michael Pramawat, one of the best players of all time. So pretty cool, both players from the testing group making day 2.
Yeah, for sure. Pramawat is definitely one of the best ever in this game. So anything you can soak up and learn from him is going to pay dividends.
Did you know that?
You see it here. 9-2 at the biggest tournament.
Did you know that Pram and Azul live together? And they live together in the same apartment complex as our own Kyle Sablehouse?
Yes, I did know that.
So many trophies in such a small area.
Indiana has definitely become one of the hubs for these top players.
Absolutely.
All right, and then this Lucamine train keeps rolling, gets back Lucamine and the Team Flare Grunt, and we're really just going to see that for quite a few turns.
Yeah, no real options for Ian, and then no real anything kind of forcing Boston to do anything different than what he's doing. Does decide to play that stadium down. Going to go ahead and move into the Hoopa now, Guzmaing up the Zoroark.
Yeah, and in the past, we've seen lists like these and like the strategy like these play cards that would discard your opponent's hand after they have a giant hand. That way they can't end and then just reset their deck. Boston doesn't actually play anything like that, but I also don't think really much anything like that is in the format. We don't have Hue anymore. No
more Hue. Yeah, there's not really much to kind of prevent that play. We see Ian on his turn, Guzma, he played his own Guzma to bring the Hoopa up and more importantly, bring the Oranguru back active. Double colorless on the Oranguru now. Perhaps it's time to start actually attacking.
Yeah, this is the swing point in the game. Being able to get that double colorless on the Oranguru. So now 3 energy, 60 and Confusion. Confusion will not matter, but 60 does 2-hit these Hoopas.
And again, that Scoundrel Guard ability from Hoopa is so important. I mean, we saw the turn where Boston just Guzma'd up the Zoroark, and that may seem a little weird, but again, Zoroark just can't affect it. This Hoopa is just immune to GX and EX attacks.
Yeah, it's pretty funny how Oranguru has become the best attacker against Hoopa.
Oranguru is just a really solid card in general versus a lot of strategies.
And as expected, Boston drawing 6 supporters off that end.
Seems about right. And yep, Profound Knowledge. Hoopa is now confused.
We do see the Acerola in his hand as well as a Plumeria, so he could at least get rid of the double colorless, but prioritizes him not taking a knockout here on the Hoopa.
What do you think about that? Would you have just gone for the more trying to beat the board state, or do you like just keeping the prizes off one way or another?
So I like it for early game, but soon you're going to want to start using those 2 counter catcher in Boston's deck. And if you kind of feed him a prize early on, that means you'll have a better chance of actually just him missing a resource management later on.
Well, you'll have the counter catcher up forever.
Yeah. You are never taking a prize.
Yeah.
One funny interaction is you can actually Lightning GX with Circuitry GX to take a card from Ian's hand, put it in the prizes, and then now counter catcher is turned on.
I like it. I like it. All right.
We won't see it this game because the Lightning is in the prizes with that Gladion. And then, yeah, resource management, put the grass back into the deck. Oh, here we go. Crushing Hammer. So Crushing Hammer is one of the ways...
Wait, we haven't seen any hammers this game
yeah.
yet. Wow.
Crushing Hammer is one of the ways that Boston can actually get rid of 2 energy in one turn as opposed to just Team Flare Grunt or Plumeria.
That's a Tails on the Crushing Hammer, of course, requires a coin flip, so not going to have any effect there. Supporter still available for Boston.
And there's a Team Skull Grunt.
No energy in hand.
No energy in hand. The information is nice, but everything that Ian really wants to do is in play right now.
Yeah. The information just, I mean, what's he going to do? He's going to do the same thing every turn. I mean, he might end, but other than that, it's not too relevant.
There's a Choice Band coming down, but remember that Lysander's Lab does not have Choice Band deal damage, so that 30 shouldn't really be there.
Correct, we can probably get that fixed. Kind of a strange interaction to deal with.
Yeah, I think people would probably just not even know what Lysander's Lab does most of the time. But doesn't matter anyway. Acerola picking up that Wishy-Washy GX. And it's still, now we're in the point of the game where he's just going to start attacking every game. And Boston's really going to need to find something to kind of make this more manageable.
Resource management, 0 cards in the discard pile now. Looks like we're going to see a Skyla come down. And yeah, that, again, that Wishy-Washy is just there to soak up damage. And Acerola makes it so hard. You know, if you didn't know what this deck is, you might say, well, you can just attack and, you know, grind him out eventually. But when they're Aceroling and then recurring their Acerola, it's just very, very hard to beat.
Okay, I like this play. Skyla for the Nest Ball for the Circuitry GX. If you look, there's a double colorless on that Oranguru. It's not going to be able to deal damage to Circuitry. Eventually, these Hoopas will either get knocked out or just be picked up with Acerola. And then you just play the Lusamine game. Now, Ian could try to retreat Oranguru with the DCE, get 3 grass on it, but that's going to take a while.
Yep, and there's another Profound Knowledge. Going back into Boston's turn. And he decides to pass the turn back.
Yeah, and this is where he's going to start taking prizes. But again, turning on counter catcher, and then with that double colorless, it's going to be a pretty hard game here from now on.
Yeah, so just like you said, Boston kind of giving him a prize, not really caring about it, just so that counter catcher is going to stay active the entire game.
It'll be interesting what he chooses with this Plumeria, the grass or the double colorless. And yeah, I like the grass here. Just more turns of having him try to attach 3 grass to that Oranguru.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been targeting the grass the entire time. It looks like he's going to stick with that plan.
There is a trade coming down. Why not? It's free. It goes back into the deck.
Yeah, the only spot that Ian needs to be worried about as far as decking out is concerned is just making sure that he manages it correctly. He just doesn't want to get, you know, double heads on a handiwork or something like that to end up losing. But that's pretty easy to do. Just, you know, be conscious of the number of cards within your deck. Not too difficult. Yeah,
and another way is actually using these Cynthias and ends to just make your deck bigger towards the end of the game. Unfortunately here, he really needs to dig for some more energy. So he has to play that Cynthia here.
Yeah,
and then again, it goes back into the deck too.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. He can only do nothing for so long. The fear also, of course, is that he's just left without energy at some point. Like that's what Boston's trying to do, is just make it so that these resource managements can't happen. But that does prove to be very difficult unless you can get multiple energy removal effects in one turn.
Basically, if you remove the energy and then Team Rocket's Handiwork discard 4 energy off the top of the deck. That's the dream right here.
That would be the best Twitch clip, I think, that we've ever had.
I mean, it could happen. Get down low in the deck and just resource management, 3 energy back.
You're not wrong. We're going to see an N from Boston.
Another thing that he could have done is like pick an energy out of his hand with Lightning GX. So it's really unfortunate that Lightning's prized.
Yeah, when you see the Circuitry and the Lightning prize, you just kind of go, okay, well, this game isn't going to be perfect, but we can manage.
And that's where you see sometimes people playing too Gladian, but it also really just hinders your consistency too.
Yeah, and it's really hard. I mean, a lot of the decks, you really have to play a powerful supporter every turn, and just playing too many turns of Gladian that's not really advancing things can be very dangerous.
Yeah, and another double colorless coming down on a Ranger, but no real attack here. Can't. No cards in the discard for resource management, and the double colorless are not going to be able to get by Circuitry.
Just considering options.
I think this would be finding Lucamine here.
Yeah, I mean, you may as well play it safe, right? You just gotta, this is what you want to be doing.
Yeah, well, as long as you essentially Lucamine every turn or every other turn, you still have a chance to beat this Oranguru.
Right. You just have to make sure that you can loop more than them, basically.
But I'm pretty sure this is going to be our only game.
Yeah. With the way this is playing out, I don't...
Already half the time gone.
Yeah, I don't expect that there's any way that either player can actually win the game.
All right, and there is a grass on the Oranguru as well, and a pass.
Which isn't always the case. We've seen, I think it was actually Michael Pramawat who defeated Yoshi Tate on stream in Memphis way back in December by attacking with Rock Ruff. A lot of decks have options to actually be aggressive and finish games. It's not common, but it does exist, just not really this one.
Yeah, especially with those 2 Wimpods prized as well. Glisspod's not really going to be that much of a factor, and that's the best attacker he can use for basic energy.
We just see another pass here.
I think that's probably going to be the most said word this match.
Yeah. Now that we're pretty much halfway through the time, this is kind of what's going to happen for the rest of the game. Both of these players have kind of established that they understand what's going on in the matchup. There can be unfortunate draws on either side off of ends and things like that, but really a lot of Boston's cards are redundant. And Ian is shuffling all his cards back in, so he has plenty of supporters. He has the trade going on. So we're going to see much of the same as we've seen for the past 25 minutes until maybe the end. Maybe there's something interesting in the, with decking out somehow at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the full 50 minutes here. And this end, Boston actually didn't really draw much of really his good cards in the deck. He didn't draw 6 supporters like last time.
That's unfortunate.
You actually see him get like that Giratina promo, and Celesteela just big, like Celesteela is just a big GX Pokemon to take more hits that's not weak to a lot of the cards, but it's not good in this matchup. So another Skyla for that Lucamine, just trying to keep that chain rolling.
Another interesting thing about playing decks like Boston's is that it really, a lot of your matches are going to be like this. They're going to go to time. They're going to go very long. And that just adds to the amount of time that you're playing Pokemon in these tournaments. You'll never have a 5-minute match. You'll never have a 10-minute match. You're always going to be sitting there the full time of the round, which, may sound silly, but when you're playing 9 rounds in a day and then 6 rounds the next day and you flew in the day before that really matters, I think. Just being able to play optimally and just kind of grind out these games is not something everyone can do. Yeah,
the mental exhaustion really sets in, especially round 12. And that's what I want to point out is Boston, he knows how to play this deck. Because look at his record, 9-2, no ties.
Yeah, that's actually pretty extreme.
Like, this is a great achievement right now for Boston. Just being able to play this deck with such efficiency and being able to play around this metagame to where he doesn't have to tie. Especially with all the Oranguru being played in these Zoroark decks.
Another pass of the turn, more of the same. I think that was pretty evident when in Expanded, when the kind of Sableye lock deck was around. It still is, but I remember when it was popular, Jimmy Pendarvis was doing very well with it. There were a lot of players that I know that were just like, I just don't want to play this deck. Like, I don't think I can play it optimally. I don't think I can do the grind. I just kind of don't want to, which is not something you really see. You know, usually if you're playing competitively, you'll just play whatever deck, you'll learn it. But a lot of people are automatically turned off to this sort of grindy, attrition-based style.
Yeah. After a few more turns of this Lucamine, he might actually run out of supporters in his discard. So he gets that Lysander's Lab again and the other Lucamine. Remember, to keep this loop going, you need to get Lucamine with Lucamine every time.
Enhanced Hammer of Ian's own off the top, but again, not relevant in the matchup. Pass of the turn.
And yeah, we're just going to really see this Lucamine get every single resource back for Boston. And
so let's just say, you know, again, this is what's going to happen in this match. You know, we're still watching. There's still some things that could change, especially towards the end of the game. But what happens when Boston plays against a deck that doesn't have a Rangaroo, that's actually trying to, you know, win a fair fight?
Well, so if it's a Zoroark deck, he's going to try to do exactly what he's doing now. Xurkitree GX, Hoopa, and you're basically like, try to win? I don't think you can at all. And with this Rangaroo, it doesn't secure the win, but it really makes things difficult.
Yeah, definitely. And typically, I think, I mean, does the game plan change on Ian's side very much if he's just playing a traditional deck? Like, are you just still kind of playing your game plan and hoping your opponent, you know, misses important discards and crushing hammer flips?
100%. And that's one thing that Boston can't really get back. Every turn is crushing hammers, enhanced hammers. You can only really get back supporters in the stadiums outside of Puzzle of Time.
Sure.
And that's really kind of the turn Boston's hoping for is, all right, I have all my crushing hammers and enhanced hammers in hand. I'll get rid of all the energy off the Rangaroo, maybe Team Skull Grunt your energy in your hand, and then hope you can't resource management, and then I turn the corner and start decking you out.
Double tails on a handiwork there for no effect.
Yeah, and that, even though he can resource manage him back, it's really just like, well, you're going to try to attack me next turn, so if I do this, it's just one less turn of you attacking me.
Absolutely, and there is one of the Wimpods coming down. What do you think this is happening now? What does this signify?
So this just puts pressure on Xurkitree GX. Glycopod dealing a lot of damage for one grass energy, 120 if it's brought active during the same turn. And with all the cards in his hand, he'll eventually be able to get that perfect hand of double colorless, or you can't even double color. So you would have to go 3 grass energy to take the knockout on the Xurkitree with Choice Band. So I don't think that's really going to happen.
I mean, it's awkward because you can't leave. It's not even about attaching the 3 grass energy. It's about having to leave them in play while you're not doing anything.
Exactly.
Because they're just so, when you attach a grass energy, they're so likely to still be in play when you go back to your next turn.
Yeah, and
so unlikely, rather.
So really, it's going to come down to this first impression, 120 damage, and then if he draws another grass energy and maybe a Choice Band.
Yeah, so again, he's just kind of doing what he can here, right? I mean, this is not a great spot to be in when your opponent has 20-something cards in hand and is trying to remove energy, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, here we actually see the counter catcher in his hand. It could come in handy to bring up a Zoroark to just try and have him not put pressure on for a few turns. And this is where Plumeria as a card comes in handy. And Team Skullgrunt, again, for the 3rd time, not doing anything.
Just a complete miss there.
The Lysander's Lab is pretty good. It takes away the Choice Band option, but we do see the Field Blower in Ian's hand. And opts for the Guzma?
He played the...
Yeah, he played the...
He has a counter catcher there, right?
Yeah. He does.
Just both players just correcting there. Just kind of played the wrong card. There's a counter catcher. That one will work. Zoroark GX going to the active position.
And now it's going to be interesting to see if he actually chooses... Okay, here we go. Max Potion coming down. No threat of being knocked out next turn. And there is a pass.
I think that makes sense. Just got to kind of protect your guy. Don't really bench anything else. There's no way that a knockout's happening.
Yeah, if this Xurkitree goes down, he's going to lose.
Right. But I mean, it just can't happen as the board stands, and it's going to take a lot. I mean, there is a time that can happen, right? Like Boston draws bad, misses some energy removal, misses some crushing hammers, but as the board sits, he was in no risk. Wishy-washy GX up top, I think.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Basically, the biggest card for him going forward for these next turns is going to be Plumeria or Crushing Hammer, because those are his 2 cards that can get rid of basic energy on the bench. Because if he doesn't have that interaction, Glyspod will eventually get those 3 basics.
We see another Lusamine and another pass of the turn.
Yeah, and funny enough, Ian has another grass in his hand, and he could do a turn of, like, all right, retreat to the Rangaroo, resource management, attach to the Glyspod. Then next turn, retreat the Rangaroo, discard the grass, double puzzle a time, field blower the lab, attach the grass, and then choice band, take the knockout with crossing cut.
Yeah, I think he's definitely trying to set up something like that. Like he realizes that just playing fair won't exactly win in the game here. He has to kind of set up a sequence that will be broken for him. As we see 2 puzzles of time, getting a Bridget and a double colorless.
Yeah, we could just see the retreat here on the Zoroark, and then resource management, put back double colorless and puzzle of times, and then slowly start to do this Glycopod.
Like the clock is winding down, but I mean, both players are playing at a pretty brisk pace, and it seems like Ian is now kind of has a very solid game plan.
Yeah, 100%. Once he got that Glycopod in play, it's the one guy that can actually take a knockout on Circuitry GX.
And then from there, it's just a matter of hooping, or orangering down the hoopas. They're doing the same thing you were before. We're going to see resource management, like you said, double puzzle DCE.
All right, Lusamine off the top. He actually plays the 3, which is pretty good.
I mean, you just basically want as many as possible.
Yeah.
So what kind of decks is Boston's soft against? Like, what does he not want to see?
Basically anything that could take a big knockout on his GXs. So Buzzswole. Malamar is actually pretty good against his deck, especially if they play a lot of non-GX EX attackers.
We saw the Giratina promo in there, a little protection against Greninja as well.
I actually saw a few Greninja playing a Winnin yesterday during round 9. I'm not sure if they made it in or not.
None made it. I think it was, I want to say underrepresented, but then I don't even think it was very good going into this tournament, so I'm not sure that's really the right word, but we've definitely seen Greninja kind of follow up the map in recent times.
One thing that kind of hurts here is the Parallel City. He put it down on the limiting bench on Boston. It does reduce his damage from Glycopod, but he will just be able to field blower it when he has the game in hand anyway.
Right. And that's, I think, something pretty interesting from Ian's side that doesn't play like normal Pokemon. I mean, this whole match doesn't play like normal Pokemon, but I think usually you're kind of,
This isn't normal for you?
Well, actually, it has been more normal for this event. We've seen a lot, actually more than a handful of matches like this, much more than we usually do. But what I was going to say is you're setting up for these big kind of combo turns like you were talking about. You can't just play a game of attaching and attacking it normally. You kind of want to save everything until you can kind of go off, which, may or may not happen with the hand disruption, other options, but it's kind of what you got to try to do.
Yeah, and we actually see the Plumeria in Boston's discard, so he will have access to it if he chooses later on in the game with Lusamine. And there's the N. Remember, he's just trying to stop him from Lusamining every turn.
Yeah, at this point, he is just trying to keep him off of Lusamine, just hope that he draws horribly. I'm sure the percentages for Boston's draws are not in Ian's favor. I'm sure he's very likely that he has 3 Lusamines, he can constantly loop them back, but he's got to do what he's got to do. He's playing to the low outs. He knows exactly what he's doing. Do you think this is a deck that was on Ian's radar going into this tournament? Like, would you have been prepared for this deck and have a game plan against it if you were playing in this tournament?
So, with the wishy-washy Hoopa circuitry stuff, it kind of has the same problem that like Lucario has. in the format with Buzzwole being so popular. Everyone's trying to attack and counter for Buzzwole, so they hit Lycanroc just because of or hit Lucario because of the psychic weakness. Well, with this deck, everyone's playing the resource management Oranguru because we're like, okay, Hoopa's going to be popular, and then it's amazing in Mirror Match. Well, it's also amazing in this match. So it really just
a little bit
gets hit with the crossfire.
Yeah, a little bit of splash damage there. Makes sense. We see 120 first impression on that circuitry. But there's a max potion to negate it all.
Yeah, that is another way for him to actually kind of steal this game from under Boston is, all right, I'm going to have a turn where I end you and then do 120 and then hope you don't have a way to heal that circuitry.
Which is possible. I mean, again, he doesn't have, infinite outs. He could very well miss, just get unlucky one turn. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and looking at the energy count, there's a double colorless in the discard, 2 grass in play. Only 1 more grass in Ian's deck, and looking at his hand right now, he does not have an energy. No way to retreat.
No energy, just that Zora's going to stay there. I guess he can try to trade here. Just the single double colorless in the discard pile.
Trade hits a Guzma, but that is not able to be played here just because Boston has no bench Pokemon. You might think, well, it says I can switch too, but it's actually just a continuation of the sentence. It says, all right, switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench. If you do, you can switch one of yours.
Yeah, exactly. You need to be able to turn the card on, basically, somehow, and you can't do that with 0 Pokemon on your opponent's bench. So both of those trades were dead draws, nothing going on. We're going to see a Cynthia. What's Ian looking for here off of Cynthia?
A Floatstone would be great. Even just a double colorless to retreat, and then you can resource management again. He also could just be looking to retreat and first impression for 150, and then hope Boston has nothing, and then you just go first impression for knockout and game next turn. He has gone through a couple max potions and used a few Ace Rolla, but I believe he brought some back with Lucamines.
And so we're just going to see a pass that Zora GX in the active position. Double
puzzle. Yeah, the puzzle of time off the top. It could be pretty heartbreaking here.
So this basically restarts the loop, right?
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, he has I don't know if he has 2 Plumeria.
It's also a way for him to get back max potions, too.
Right.
So he opts to save them.
Right. I mean, I guess he's not in any danger here. There's not. I think you can kind of save those puzzles for when you really need it, when times are critical. And here, you're just drawing a fresh hand with N, putting your opponent on 1 fewer cards.
Yeah, and Xurkitree is actually a card that ever since Sheffield Regionals, where the Zoroark Lycanroc won with 4 double colorless, 4 strong energy, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to put Xurkitree in every deck. And see if it can work. And it looks like Boston's found the right shell for it here.
I mean, you can definitely take advantage of metagames like that. People have their greedy energy bases.
And off the N, Ian gets that Floatstone. First impression, 150. But we still see that Boston drew the double puzzle of time back with that N. N has a max potion in hand anyway.
Just like we drew it up.
Just like he drew.
Right. Looks like we may be seeing a double puzzle for...
He also has the Lucamine. Wow.
Oh, yeah, he can just max potion and then the Lucamine, get back the stadium.
Yeah.
And that's what he does, and now he has the loop again. There's Lysander Lab.
This is where one energy switch would come in so clutch.
That would be absurd.
Double colorless off the top. Usually a good card to draw when you just first impression last turn. It turns on Armor Press and Crossing Cut, but not against Xurkitree GX. And yeah, a retreat to the Oranguru, and then we'll see a resource management put back 3 energy possibly.
We're definitely seeing 2 energy, considering the other double colorless.
Opts for the Field Blower. Again, that's his out to winning is Field Blower, that Lysander's Lab, 3 grass on this Glycopod.
And he kind of realizes that now it's just about time, right? Like he needs to get 3 grass on that Glycopod, but when he doesn't have it, he's just fine to discard the DC, retreat, go to the Rangaroo. Like it'll just happen again eventually, or time will be called. One of those things will happen.
From the looks of how Boston is playing this matchup, though, I think he's really just going for the tie. He's like, wow, I can't believe you got the Bridget for the Rangaroo and then just started resource management. I don't know if I can actually pull this game out, especially with under 9 minutes remaining.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that from Boston. He's just trying to, loosamine, just make sure he has cards. He's not concerned with winning. He'll be happy to end this match at 9-2-1.
Yeah, definitely not what the players want to see in the middle of day 2 Swiss. Is a 1-game tie, but you have to take those.
Yeah, it's always rough. I mean, so with Ian having the Rangaroo, having a Glycopod that can attack for basic energy, do you think he expects to win this, or do you think he'll kind of breathe a sigh of relief with a tie too? Will he be upset with a tie, or is he fine with it?
It's hard to say. I think in a vacuum, he'd probably win. So it's really tough because the way things have shaped up, he just really needs Boston to whiff an N.
Yeah. I mean, I think certainly if this kept happening forever, I think that Ian is more likely to just eventually find the right combination, and Boston just misses, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we only have 7 more minutes left, but if we just could play this forever, I think eventually the cards are going to come up right where triple grass, you whiff, I knock you out, good game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they want to watch this forever. We can have them keep going.
Yeah, sure. We can cancel the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, we don't need the tournament. We got this.
We're going to see a Mallow, I believe, as we just have 7 minutes remaining in this match.
Mallow for grass energy and something else. Could be just another grass energy. Maybe even the Field Blower he put back to turn on the choice band.
Yeah, some combination of those. It's possible. Yep, you're exactly right. Just grass, Field Blower. Needs to determine what he's going to trade with first. Yeah, he's putting those back on top.
I think you could trade with literally anything but the puzzle at times, and he'll be fine.
Yeah. Zorg GX. Hey, look, it's the card he put on top.
How fortunate. Always gets the card he needs off
what we
trade.
call a combo.
All right. Looks like Field Blower is coming down, discarding the Floatstone off the Zoroark and the Lysander's Lab. Again, that's just saying, I only have 2 Floatstones. I'm going to put this in the discard so I can resource management back later.
All right, not the best first impression, but also not the worst.
Well, so if he could just first impression 3 times and Boston doesn't have anything, he'll take the win. But as we know, there's a lot of stuff in Boston Sand that he can do.
Yeah, extremely unlikely to be the way that this game ends here. Have you ever heard the Michael Pramawat Mallow story?
Yes.
From, the Memphis Regionals?
He's done that twice now, where he needs double puzzle and doesn't Mallow and then just trades into double puzzle.
Yeah. Back in Memphis, he just played the wrong card. He had the Mallow in hand, accidentally played an Acerola. Said, whatever. He's playing against Rahul already. He says, I'll just do it, whatever. I'll pick up my Zoroark, play it back down, trade, draws the perfect 2 cards.
Well, that's exactly what Ian needs here.
Speaking
is the
of double
perfect
puzzle
combination of cards.
Grass Energy.
He doesn't need anything else. Double puzzle, just get back 2 cards. It's fine. Mal is actually pretty good just because being able to search for those grass energies.
All right.
There we go. He is 1 turn away from taking the game here. But all he could do is just bench another Wishy-Washy, and then you've got a few more turns to play.
Yeah, I mean, we see Skyla in hand for Max Potion. I mean...
one thing of note, I don't believe there's any way for Boston to get back Pokemon as well. So if this circuitry does go down, it'll be the only one. But I don't think that matters with 4 minutes, a little over 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, it's definitely matter if the game went in a different direction, but not going to be too relevant here. We do see that Max Potion clearing the Circuitry GX of all damage.
Essentially gives Boston 3 more turns to try to find something else.
And you see Ian playing very, very quickly. He's thinking, you know, I'm probably not going to win this, but if I am, it's going to be because I play quickly when I have to run out this clock. We know it's getting low. Tails on Crushing Hammer.
All right, things are lining up for Ian here. Boston might be forced to play that Wishy-Washy next turn. He does have the Lusamine as well, though. Lusamine for a Lysander's Lab could shut off at least a few options, although we know Ian has another Field Blower in his hand.
Considering what to do here. Again, he is pressured to play a Pokemon eventually. Considering Guzma, just try to stall out a little bit more.
So this is rough because Guzma turns on First Impression for its full 120 damage, which could take a knockout. And I think we're going to see a knockout here. Double Colorless Retreat. First Impression, knock out the Circuitry. Things are looking up. 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, Boston... Boston was very aware of that. That's why he played the Wishy-Washy on the bench. But still, we're seeing a knockout. 3 prizes left. I mean, now there's no more concerns about special energy counts or anything like that.
Well, I guess he does have a way to get back Pokemon. It's Puzzle of Time.
Right.
Yeah.
There's that big Wishy-Washy on the board, or on your screen, rather.
Made of a bunch of fish. It's not just one big fish.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Been reading flavor text in your spare time?
No, I actually play the game.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
So N actually puts Ian down to 3 just because those 2 Hoopa prizes he took earlier on.
Only 3 cards. Again, versus, as we've been talking about this whole tournament, ending your opponent low when they have 2 Zoroark GXs on board isn't the most relevant thing, but still matters.
That Hoopa is pretty important. It kind of means that this game will end in a tie. Just more Pokemon for him to just toss up there, especially ones that are harder to knock out.
Would you have made the Guzma play where you sacrifice your Circuitry, or do you think that's too risky?
I couldn't say yes or no. He's the one that's 9-2 with this deck. He, like I said, no ties before this, so he definitely knows how to play matchups.
Yeah, the important thing when playing a deck like Boston's as well is that you're playing 100% reactive, so you really need to know what options your opponent has. So like when you said earlier, oh man, if he had Energy Switch here, that would just be devastating. And Boston has to just kind of think about that, right? He knows that most of these decks don't play Energy Switch, but he does have to kind of like be very aware of what could happen every turn, and what's in his opponent's
I think
deck.
we saw that a lot in this metagame with people trying to prepare for Buzzwole. Is they're like, okay, every single popular list plays 0 Field Blower. Well, now I'm going to like play Garb and play Floatstone or play Fighting Fury Belt to help it. And then I know Ahmed, he actually got someone with a Field Blower, and it was pretty sweet.
Very nice. We see a Counter Catcher bringing up that Zoroark GX. Max Potion heals all the damage off the Wishy-Washy. Zoroark stuck active as we wind down to just about 30 seconds left in this match. Unless a miracle happens, it looks like it will be a tie. Tapu Lele, Wonder Tag. There's a Guzma.
Yeah, Guzma is going to start resource management again, and we'll just see this game end in a tie. Both players still very much alive for day 2. They just need 2 more wins to try to make top 8.
Yeah, so at this point, Ian just realizing, I don't know exactly how much time is left, but I know it's not a lot. I know this isn't going to work anymore. I'm just going to Guzma, start resource managing, and just kind of cut off all of your outs. And where at 0 seconds on the clock looks like time has been called, you kind of see the players are just kind of like, what's going to happen?
I guess it's a tie. Like.
Yeah, you see whenever the hands go up. But no, it looks like they're actually going to play. They're probably debating about what turn it had been yet. So it was still Ian's turn when time was called. So Boston will take this turn number 1. Ian will take another turn, and then Boston will get the final turn. again, unlikely to matter. Both of these players kind of positioned the game in this way. Ian actually came pretty close to being able to pull something off there with a few more unlucky draws on Boston's side, perhaps, but there's a pass of the turn. We are starting turn 2. This is going to be Ian's final turn of the game.
Yeah, I think definitely what kind of sealed this game as a tie is Boston so early on. I think turn 3, just drawing into the Gladian and Gladian for that Circuitry GX.
And this is turn 3. Boston draws his card. He's just going to pull out his hand. I mean, it's going to be a tie. The handshake, and these players advance to 9, 2, and 1. So a tie is going to give them 1 match point each, whereas a win would have gotten the winner 3. So it's not the worst. You know, it's not the worst outcome, but again, they're at a position where 9 and 2.